Hi, MassArt. I hope you guys are all good. I hope you all been watching Tiger King and staying healthy and relaxing. We're going to ignore this stain on my chest and we're going to talk about the catalog project. So, the catalog project can be about any concept you want. It's a completely open project. I mean, you guys should be maybe considering like what does it mean to make a collection in or to design a collection at this time, um, at this time in history. But overall, there's no requirements for it to be about any particular subject. So it's different in that way than the last two assignments. So what is different about the layout project even more is that, or sorry, the catalog project even more, is that you have to follow a very specific layout. So if we were at school, we would be printing these projects as catalogs. So I went downstairs and I found the only catalog or Staples Center bound book I could find, and it's actually the MassArt 2018 fashion show. Sandra gave me this catalog when I interviewed for my job at MassArt. So, um, we we need to design a project that would be printed in this way and bound with staples in the center. So every page in a catalog is 8.5 by 11. If I hold up this piece of paper, this 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, you can see exactly the same size. So you're designing at 8.5 by 11, but actually the printer is printing onto 11 by 17. And the printers at MassArt knew how to automatically put a series of pages, so you design them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like you read a book. But then the machine would automatically print the pages so that they could be stapled in the center and make a book in order. So when you're designing, you're going to be designing on 8.5 by 11 pages, and this would be page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and so on. And the printer would automatically print the pages in the correct way, because if we disassembled this book, we would find that page 1, the front, and page 60, I checked how many pages there were, page 60, the back, are on the same sheets of 11 by 17 paper, right? So every page in here is connected to another page on the other side of the book. And you wouldn't have to worry about putting them in a specific order. That's like the printer does all of the work for you in terms of sorting them and figuring out how the book is put together. The one thing you guys have to pay attention to is that you need a multiple of 4 pages. So to break this down, I have some smaller examples. I don't have any 11 by 17 paper in the house. So the minimum number of pages you could have is 4. Okay, and that is because if this is one 8.5 by 11 page, then page 2, another 8.5 by 11, and 3 are the center fold, And then page 4 is the back cover, essentially. So most of you are probably going to need to have 8 pages. I think most people used 8 to 12. So this catalog would not even need a staple in the center. It's just one, supposed to be 11 by 17 page folded in half, made up of 4 8.5 by 11 pages printed on each half. So you could have any kind of maximum number of pages as long as it was a multiple of 4, right? You could have 32 pages, but a lot of you might have 8 pages. So this would be your front cover. And then 2 and 3, page 2 is connected to the back pages, actually, and page 3 is the start of a second 11 by 17 page folded in half. 4 and 5 are the centerfold. So the centerfold, if you can keep in mind where the centerfold is in your designs, the centerfold is a really nice place to put like a whole page picture, maybe, right? Because you guys might need to be filling space. If you only have 5 pages worth of stuff, you might be including, you know, large spreads of beautiful photographs that support your collection. I forgot to write on these pages classically, but this is page 6 and 7, and page 8 would be the back cover. So I fixed it really quick, 6 and 7, and then 8. And so if we split this up into its pages, the cover page is, this is the cover page, is connected to the back cover, and then page 2 and 7 are on the same page, and 3, 4, 5, 6, they're all on the same 8.5, 11 by 17 inch page. We're pretending this page is 11 by 17. So all together they make up the organized booklet. So that's how it works. I hope it makes sense, and that's why you need to have a multiple of 4, because every 11 by 17 inch page has 4 pages in it. If you don't have a multiple of 4 pages, you will have blank pages when you go to print. I know it's not really relevant now, but this is what the assignment is supposed to show. And when we get back to MassArt, you could print it on the catalog, and it's just a really nice kind of polished portfolio piece to have this nicely printed catalog, right? This has 60 pages, which is a multiple of 4, and actually, if we look, it does have numbers on it. And so this would normally be page 1 in a book, and if we look, it's actually labeled page 3. So this is the first page after you open the cover, and they've labeled it page 3 because this front cover, when they went to print it, probably maybe at MassArt, this is the 3rd page in the like PDF that they have designed. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions. It's kind of a tricky concept, but let's turn it around and I'll show you how I would start organizing pages in Illustrator really quick in order to support this kind of design work. So I'm going to create a document with an 8.5 by 11 inch page, right? You can go to print and choose letter if it's not in your recent tab. And It's nice to change this to inches over here, but we're also going to make sure that our preferences is in inches. So I'm going to hit create. And just in case, I'm going to go to Edit Preferences, or if you're working on a Mac, it's under Illustrator Preferences, and then Units. And we want general to be in inches. Stroke and type can be in points. So you can say OK. And we are going to start making new artboards. So this first artboard, I'm going to think of it as my title page. I'm going to grab the artboard tool, and we're going to make 8 artboards all at once here. So I'm going to hit new 7 times. All right, let's zoom out. Now with the artboard tool, I can move anything around, and I'm going to make sure that Smart Guides is on, and this is going to help me snap to snap to point should be on. That's going to help me snap to the edge of the new artboard. So artboard 1 stands all on its own as the front cover, essentially. Artboard 2 and Artboard 3, they are going to be next to each other. Even though they, we can keep in mind that there is going to be like the fold of the page here, but you could still do something seamless across this, and it would still look pretty good. And then Artboard 4 and 5, we can move those together. And this would be your centerfold, so there would be staples in the catalog right there, but this would be one seamless piece of paper, so that's a nice place to put a seamless image. And then Artboard 6 and 7 can move together, and Artboard 8 stands all on its own as the back page. So hopefully that makes sense. Honestly, you're not going to get to this stage for a little while. We still have a few weeks until you need to have kind of the layout done like this, but this is just to give you an idea of how you could start laying out your pages if you were going to make a document, right? We would then save this as an Adobe PDF, and the PDF would put the pages in order 1, 2, 3, 4. It wouldn't pay attention to the fact that we've like connected them, and then the printer would do the work of the fact of putting them in order and printing them on the page, right? So I'm actually just gonna hit cancel. We don't need to save this blank PDF. Hopefully that makes sense, but please let me know if you have any questions on this part of the video. So for homework tonight, you actually don't have to worry about the catalog layout at all. It's just something to think ahead to. But we are going to have you draw a trend board and an inspiration board and sketches. I just wanted to talk about trend boards and inspiration boards really quick. You aren't required to include either of these in your catalog, but you are allowed to. You can put them in your catalog, but you aren't required to. So if you think you might want to put them in your catalog, maybe you want to work at 11 by 17 horizontal so that they can fit across, 2 8.5 by 11 pages smoothly. Or maybe you want to work at 8.5 by 11 so that they can kind of sit next to each other on 2 8.5 by 11 pages. It's up to you, but let's get into kind of the difference between a trend board and an inspiration board, because I'm having you make a pair of boards again, but they're different than, well, one of them is a little different than last project. So this is a trend board. It is exploring the neon trend. It is pretty directed in what it is exploring. It has lots of fashion images that support the trend, but also a little bit of art and accessories. It's not the neatest trend board, but they've done a pretty good job. I like the images that they have selected. I love this trend board. I think it's really polished. I love how all of these guys are outlined in white. I think that that looks really slick. And I love the images that they have chosen in the background, how they have lots of art images on here. But mostly the focus is the clothes in a trend board. But again, they're exploring one overall trend. I think that's a great way to kind of explore the trend board in this case and differentiate it from an inspiration board. All right, so an inspiration board should have broader pictures on it. I loved this one in particular. So this does have a few fashion images, but they are not the main focus. Otherwise, they're assembling colors and textures and overall like images that support the mood and the vibe of the collection and tell a story, right? So your inspiration board should have images that tell a story about the collection. This is a kind of beachy collection for summer fun that involves stripes. I actually think this collection goes pretty well with this mood board, even though maybe I would have unified the colors a little bit more, found a more muted versions of these to support this mood board. It would be nice, you know, if they looked good together, but I'm afraid I don't have a good example of that. Just like how I don't have an example of student work for the catalog project. A lot of those examples are in my drawer at MassArt. Great, so I think that should make sense to you guys. Trend boards include current images of what is popular in the media and in fashion design today. So you might have done research in magazines, on WGSN, on any kind of website like Pinterest, of a current trend that is happening right now that might support your collection or that your collection might build off of and adapt into your own ideas and your own thoughts, right? Your own new, fresh fashion designs. So your inspiration board, on the other hand, or I might have called this your mood board a few times, your inspiration board should have images that tell your story about this collection, define what the collection is going to be. Fashion should not be at the forefront of this one. That's what the trend board is for. In this one, it's other images about place, about target market, about feeling, about color, right? About maybe fabrics, maybe other types of textures, close-up images of textures that maybe aren't fabrics. So hopefully that's making sense where the difference lies in those. So instead of me lecturing to you all about mood boards for what feels like the millionth time, I'm going to link other videos that do a great job of explaining how to make inspiration boards and trend boards, and the process for these is going to be pretty much the same. I think that in general, people kind of organize trend boards a little bit more. They're a little bit more structured, and maybe your inspiration board can be a little freer. But really, there's not too much of a difference in the process of how you would make them in Photoshop. So let me know if you have specific questions this week, or drop into my office hours um, for uh, question answering time. Okay. I can share my screen. I've heard that you might be able to share your screen, and then we can look at what's going on in your specific project, or specific ideas you might have. So I'll see you guys. I hope you are having an okay time out there.